Guten Tag und herzlich willkommen zum ein neuer Aufgabe bei Clueless Drinker. That was terrible German. That's like sort of like an introduction to an episode of a TV show, which this is clearly far from. But yeah, so some German beer. We've not covered German beer for a little while. And with the Oktoberfest season coming to a close, although I'm not too sure, it's already finished by now. I can't really remember. I'd usually be posting like an Oktoberfest week sort of series, but I've not done that this year. Mainly because I've not really had a sort of like a lust to go out my way to get some Oktoberfest beers. Although I was at Northern Beer Temple in Wigan, and John had pretty much the whole range of all the, the usual suspects, including this one, which is becoming a little bit easy to get hold of. I'd say out of all the sort of Oktoberfest beers, I think it's a bit more of the pricier side of things. But it is a beer that I have enjoyed countless times. I've reviewed it multiple times on the channel. And even though I'm not doing a sort of like a special week's worth of German beers or Oktoberfest beers, I thought I'd pick up another bottle of this and do another review. And just like Paul from PA Brew News likes to point out, overly romanticise about my brief time in Germany. So, of course, we've got the Augustiner-Bräu Oktoberfest beer. And this is clocking in at 6.3%. So a little bit of a heavier Oktoberfest beer. Can't remember what the ABVs of like Paulaner, Hackeshaw, Spartan and, the other main breweries are. But, yeah, always a good excuse when this and the Maximator are released, because of course if you're not familiar with the channel, the Augustiner Brewery or Augustiner-Bräu Brauerei is probably my favourite ever brewery, and they've got my favourite Doppelbock, the Maximator, and they've also got my favourite all-time German lager, the Augustiner Lager Beer Hell. And I've got to say, their Oktoberfest is one of my favourites as well. So it was rude not to pick up a bottle of this. So a massive thank you to John at Northern Beer Temple. If you're in the Wigan area, go check out that link down below. It is preferred if you do a click and collect, but he will happily accommodate your beer-related needs if you want to go buy in store. So, yeah, just iconic artwork there. Always love specifically the Augustiner labels. I mean, German beer labels in general. Surely there's like a coffee book out there. I mean, we've got a book that shows you a fragment of every single carpet from every single Wetherspoons. So there's got to be some sort of book that celebrates German beer labels. And if not, I am sitting on a potentially modestly interesting book. But yeah, I just love it. I love the German shaped bottles. There's just the overly romanticising elements coming in already. And I've mentioned this story time and time again. Probably one of the best beer drinking experiences that I've ever had was me and my dad when he was visiting me when I was living in Germany. Went to the Augustiner-Bräu or Braustubel, I think it's called, right next to the brewery itself. And we had traditional Bavarian food and Augustiner Lager Beer Hell fresh on tap. What more could a German beer lover need? Do you know what I mean? It's up there with drinking Assambock at the actual Weltenberger Kloster, again with beautiful Bavarian food. I made a horrible noise as I breathed in them. But yeah, lovely stuff. And we're going to hold this by candlelight, which isn't doing anything. But yeah, just a nice, slightly darker than you would expect from the, well, reference point, the lager beer hell. So it seems to be maybe a little bit more of a maltier build. Still beautiful clarity, nice, gentle carbonation going up to that 1 finger's worth of a white head. Of course, got the correct glassware. Just a beautiful glass. I need to get some proper merch. But yeah, certainly looking the part. So let's see what we get on the nose. And it's got that little bit more of an intensely, slightly more roasted malt character. Of course, it's got that muskiness that I like. As if you're like walking into a damp barn or something like that. You know, because I can't be the only one who goes to damp barns on a regular basis. Surely not. What a stupid flavour note that was. But yeah, it's got that sort of like the morning after a very wet evening. Grassy, herbal. There's definitely a bit more of a pronounced spiciness. But yeah, I don't think this sort of like falls in line with the Märzen style, because it's not really got sort of like that sweeter aroma. But then sometimes I find with Märzens, they've either got like a nice sweetness to them, or there's a little bit more of a spicy bready note. But this, it's got a beautiful, gently spiced aroma. You could definitely smell it's a slightly higher than a usual ABV lager. But it's smelling damn good. Really, really good. Anyway, let's give it a taste. Prost. It's got a beautiful mouthfeel. In this day and age where a lot of the, especially UK breweries who are doing lagers, going for that more like rounded, softer, but bulkier Keller style. This, despite its clarity, has actually got quite a big body. Gentle carbonation. It's nice, big and bold, smooth. Easy drinking for its ABV, because sometimes a higher ABV lager, which isn't like a Doppelbock or something like that, does tend to, I'm starting to wheeze a little. So if I die on camera, I might actually get a decent amount of views. Anyway, morbid. Yeah, big, bold, bready, spicy notes as well. It's got a nice German rye loaf sort of flavour. It is definitely more on the breadier side of things. I mean, don't get me wrong, you could easily do it, but I wouldn't advise doing a full session on this, because it is quite rich and it's a bit higher in ABV. And if you're having pint after pint, mass after mass, bottle after bottle, then it's certainly going to catch up with you. And you will feel rough as horses. That's my new saying. Not rough as houses. Now I'm starting to second guess myself if rough as houses is actually a phrase. But you'd feel rougher than a horse's arse. But mind you, horses tend to have a really nice, sleek, soft coat. Just think of an animal that's well known for having a really scraggy, rough arse. And that's what you'd feel like if you drank a bit too much of this. But to me, it's got a bit more oomph than some of the other sort of like Oktoberfest related beers that come out. Which, again, shouldn't really say that because I've not reviewed the other Oktoberfest beers from this year. And then you drink this and then you think, why didn't I? But the good thing about that is in a few months' time, you're going to see those bottles a little bit cheaper. And due to the style, if they're kept correctly, you're not going to, you know, notice too much. You know, because lagers do tend to stay around a little bit. But there is a place locally, I'm not sure if they still sell them now, that had Maximator for £1 a bottle. £1 a bottle for... Is it the best Doppelbock? Because Asambot from Woltenberger is definitely up there. But Maximator from Augustiner, it's just beautiful. And for this time of year, start of October, if I was in Germany, I'd be stocking up on these sorts of beers now. And the good thing is, once the Oktoberfest has sort of ended, you do find the Oktoberfest beers in certain supermarkets getting heavily reduced. And then that makes way for all the winter beers, like Wintertraum from Woltenberger and others that I can't, for the life of me, think of right now. But I'm in the moment. I'm loving this. I'm enjoying it. It's warming me up slightly. Just wish I had some pretzels now. It's so hard to get hold of pretzels. The nearest Lidl, for some reason, doesn't have the fresh pretzels, and they don't seem to be stocking the bags of frozen pretzels, and it's just utter sacrilege, because Lidl's pretzels are iconic in of themselves. Do you know what I mean? And to pair it up with beautiful beer like this, some cooked meats, cured meats, salamis, then you've got some nice cheeses. They know how to live in Germany. They really, really do. And what do we have here? Almost like a dependency on shit like McDonald's. Not to say that, yeah, McDonald's isn't popular in Germany, of course. But it's so easy for us to get low-quality takeaways. Whereas, you know, in Germany, you don't have to have a massive meal. Just some nice quality bread, some nice quality Macedama cheese or Emmentaler cheese. And there's a Bergkäse, I think it's called. Like a soft, well, it's not soft, like spreadable, gooey cheese, but that's a nice nutty cheese. Yeah, I miss the food in Germany. But beers like this always take me back. And I just find these such a joy to drink. I really, really do. I mean, you can get some really boring fest beers. That there's so many different sorts of types of fest beer as well. But this, for me, I love it. It's beautiful. Sehr schön. Sehr schön. Es ist schön. Es ist wunderschön. Bit of a Yu-Gi-Oh! I can never remember his name. Germany's manager. I don't think he picks his arse and picks his nose all the time. Es ist schön. Es ist wunderschön. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. I think I've reviewed this a few times now on the channel, so if you want to have a look at those reviews, as well as plenty of other German lagers, then I've got a treasure trove of German beer reviews on the channel. And yeah, this for me, just a beautiful, beautiful beer from one of the, excuse me, Entschuldigung, one of the greatest breweries of all time from, quite frankly, the greatest beer producing country ever. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you've tried it, or if you've tried any of the other notable Oktoberfest beers this year, or even some of the because I know a lot of the UK breweries and international breweries are getting in on doing sort of like Oktoberfest themed beers. Then let me know your thoughts, opinions down below. Any recommendations, greatly appreciated. Any sort of Augustiner Oktoberfest related videos I will include in the description as well. Go check out the brewery. And if you see a bottle of this and you want something that's got a little bit of oomph, that sort of goes against the narrative that fest beers are boring, then give this a go, please. Anyway, cheers for watching. You all take care, stay safe, und auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss.